Welcome back to the Sleepy Astronaut, where we drift through the cosmos together in search of wonder and rest. Tonight, we embark on perhaps the most extraordinary journey of all, beyond the very edges of everything we know, into the infinite tapestry of the multiverse itself. Imagine this. Right now, as you settle into this moment, there might be another version of you making slightly different choices. Perhaps they chose a different book tonight, or maybe they're gazing up at stars through a window while you listen with your eyes closed. In a universe parallel to ours, the laws of physics might paint the sky in colors we've never imagined, where gravity flows upward and time moves like honey through dimensions we can't even comprehend. What if I told you that some of the world's most brilliant physicists believe this isn't just fantasy, but a profound possibility woven into the very fabric of reality? You feel yourself sinking deeper into comfort as we contemplate this mystery together. The idea that our entire universe, every star, every planet, every moment of your life, might be just one bubble floating in an infinite ocean of possibilities. Tonight, we'll explore what lies beyond the boundaries of our cosmic home, drifting through theories that stretch the imagination while cradling your mind toward peaceful sleep. As you breathe slowly and let your thoughts expand, we'll discover hidden worlds that might exist parallel to ours, where different versions of history unfold, where the fundamental constants of nature dance to different rhythms, and where infinity takes on meanings so vast they humble even the most ambitious human dreams. We'll wander through the mathematics of possibility, the poetry of parallel dimensions, and the gentle mysteries that emerge when scientists peer beyond the edge of everything. If you find peace in these cosmic wanderings, and if it feels right to you, consider subscribing to our channel. We're here whenever you need a gentle journey through the universe's most soothing mysteries. And tonight, wherever you are in this vast world, whether you're watching city lights twinkle outside your window or listening in the quiet darkness of countryside, share with us in the comments where you are and what time it is in your corner of existence. Knowing you're out there, scattered across time zones but united in curiosity, makes these journeys feel even more magical. Now, dim the lights, settle deeper into your comfortable space, and let's drift together into tonight's journey through the infinite corridors of the multiverse. You find yourself standing at the edge of everything, not just everything you can see, but everything that exists in our universe. Before you stretches a boundary so fundamental that most minds struggle to grasp it. It's not a wall or a barrier in any physical sense, but rather the very limit of space and time as we understand them. Beyond this invisible threshold lies something that defies easy description. The multiverse, an endless expanse where our entire universe is merely one bubble among countless others, each containing its own reality, its own laws, its own infinite possibilities. As you contemplate this edge, you notice how peaceful the vastness feels. There's no rushing wind or dramatic music here, just the profound silence that comes with being at the boundary of all existence. The temperature is perfectly comfortable, neither warm nor cool, as if the very concept of temperature becomes meaningless at the edge of reality. You breathe slowly, and with each breath, you feel yourself becoming more attuned to the subtle rhythms that govern the space between worlds. The story of how we came to imagine such a place begins with a simple observation that would have startled our ancestors. When you look up at the night sky, you see stars scattered across the darkness like distant campfires. But what our ancestors couldn't know is that this darkness itself tells a story. The space between stars isn't truly empty. It's expanding, carrying those distant lights further away from us with each passing moment. This discovery, made less than a century ago, revealed that our universe is not static and eternal as once believed, but dynamic and evolving, growing larger every second. You drift deeper into this realization, feeling how it changes everything. If the universe is expanding, then long ago it must have been smaller. Wind back the clock far enough, and you arrive at a moment when all of space and time emerged from something unimaginably small and dense, what we call the Big Bang. But here, at the edge of our cosmic bubble, you begin to sense something that even this grand beginning cannot explain. If there was nothing before the Big Bang, what caused it to happen? And if space itself is expanding, what is it expanding into? These questions whisper themselves across the boundary before you, and in their echoes, you hear the first hints of something larger. The multiverse theory emerged from physicists' attempts to answer these very puzzles. As you float here at the edge of everything familiar, you begin to understand that our universe might not be unique at all. Instead, it could be just one outcome among infinite possibilities, one bubble in a cosmic foam that stretches beyond imagination. The mathematics that brought us to this realization started with something beautifully simple. The observation that the universe's expansion isn't slowing down as we might expect, but actually speeding up. Something is pushing space apart with ever-increasing force, something we call dark energy, though we barely understand what it is. You feel this mysterious force like a gentle current flowing past you, carrying space itself outward in all directions. In the mathematics describing this expansion, physicists discovered something remarkable. The equations don't just allow for one universe, they practically demand an infinite number of them. As you absorb this revelation, you notice how the boundary before you seems to shimmer with possibility. Beyond lies not emptiness, but fullness beyond description. In the theory known as eternal inflation, space itself is constantly expanding and creating new regions of space-time. Imagine a vast ocean where bubbles are constantly forming, each bubble representing an entire universe. Some bubbles might contain universes where the fundamental forces of nature work differently than they do here. In some, gravity might be stronger or weaker. In others, the particles that make up matter might have different properties entirely. You find yourself wondering about these other bubbles, these parallel realities. In one nearby universe, perhaps atoms never learned to stick together, creating a cosmos filled only with isolated particles drifting through endless space. In another, gravity might be so strong that matter collapsed into black holes almost immediately after that universe's Big Bang, leaving behind a realm of curved space-time where time itself moves differently. The possibilities stretch infinitely in all directions, each universe a unique experiment in the laws of physics. But what captures your imagination most deeply as you rest here at the boundary is the possibility of universes almost identical to ours. The mathematics suggests that among infinite possibilities, there must be universes where everything unfolded just as it did here, with one tiny exception. Perhaps in one such universe, you chose to have tea instead of coffee this morning. In another, you took a different route to work, or read a different book, or never met someone who became important to you. This idea of parallel selves living parallel lives has a strange comfort to it. You breathe deeply, considering how every choice you've ever made might have played out differently somewhere else in the vast multiverse. The path not taken, the words not spoken, the dreams pursued in a different direction. They all exist somewhere in the infinite expanse beyond our cosmic bubble. There's something profoundly peaceful about this thought, a sense that nothing is truly lost, that every possibility finds expression somewhere in the grand tapestry of existence. You notice how this realization changes your perspective on regret and loss. If somewhere in the multiverse every path is taken, every choice is made, then perhaps our task isn't to mourn the roads not traveled, but to appreciate the particular journey we're on in this specific universe. The life you're living, with all its unique joys and sorrows, is one precious thread in an infinite weaving, no less valuable for being one among countless others. As these thoughts settle around you like a comfortable blanket, you become aware of another layer to the multiverse theory. Beyond the bubble universes created by eternal inflation, physicists have imagined even stranger possibilities. In what's called the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, every time a quantum particle makes what appears to be a choice between possibilities, the universe splits into multiple versions, each containing a different outcome. This means that at every moment, reality is branching into countless new timelines. The quantum particle in your brain that influences a particular thought, the random decay of an atom somewhere in your body, the countless microscopic events happening around you. Each one might be splitting reality into new branches where different outcomes unfold. You find this thought surprisingly soothing rather than overwhelming. It suggests that existence is far richer and more creative than we ever dared imagine. In these quantum parallel worlds, the differences might be so small as to be unnoticeable. Perhaps in one timeline, you blinked a fraction of a second earlier. In another, a photon of starlight struck your window at a slightly different angle. Most of these parallel selves would be virtually identical to you, living lives so similar that the differences would be meaningless. But over time, small changes accumulate, and some branches of reality might diverge significantly from others. You rest in the contemplation of these countless other versions of yourself, each facing their own challenges, experiencing their own joys, growing and learning in their own unique ways. There's something deeply comforting about imagining that your struggles and triumphs are shared across infinite realities, that you're not alone in facing whatever life brings. In some sense, you're part of an infinite family of selves, each contributing their own perspective to the grand experiment of existence. The boundary before you seems to pulse gently with these possibilities, and you realize that contemplating the multiverse is really about contemplating the nature of possibility itself. In our single universe, with its specific physical laws and history, only certain things can happen. But step outside our cosmic bubble, and suddenly anything becomes possible. Universes where time flows backward, where effect precedes cause, where consciousness works in ways we cannot imagine. All of these might exist somewhere in the infinite expanse. Yet perhaps the most beautiful aspect of multiverse theory is how it reframes our understanding of what makes something real. If infinite universes exist, each as real and valid as our own, then reality becomes not a single truth, but an infinite symphony of possibilities. The universe you're experiencing right now, with its particular history and its specific arrangement of stars and planets and people, is no less real for being one among countless others. If anything, it becomes more precious, a unique and irreplaceable note in the cosmic song. As you drift deeper into these contemplations, you might wonder whether beings in other universes are capable of discovering their own multiverse theories. In realities where the laws of physics are dramatically different, would intelligence even be possible? Could there be forms of consciousness so alien to our own that we couldn't recognize them as consciousness at all? The questions multiply like ripples spreading across an infinite pond, each one opening up new territories of wonder. Some physicists have suggested that if the multiverse exists, we might someday find evidence of it. Perhaps we could detect the gravitational influence of other universe bubbles, or find patterns in our cosmic background radiation that suggest collisions with parallel realities. The idea that we might someday prove that infinite worlds exist fills you with a sense of anticipation, mixed with the deep peace of knowing that the universe is far stranger and more wonderful than we currently understand. You find yourself considering what it would mean for humanity if we could definitively prove the existence of the multiverse. Would it change how we see ourselves, our place in existence, the importance of our choices and actions? In some ways, it might make every individual life seem smaller, just one among infinite variations. But in another sense, it might make each life infinitely more precious, because each represents a unique and irreplaceable perspective on reality. The philosophical implications ripple outward like waves in your consciousness. If infinite versions of you exist, which one is the real you? The question itself begins to feel meaningless as you float here at the boundary of all possibilities. Perhaps the real you is all of them simultaneously. Every choice made, every path taken, every dream pursued and abandoned, all existing together in the vast symphony of the multiverse. This realization brings with it a profound sense of peace. The mistakes you've made, the opportunities you've missed, the relationships that didn't work out, somewhere in the infinite expanse, other versions of you made different choices and experienced different outcomes. This doesn't diminish the importance of your own journey, but rather places it in a context so vast and rich that every experience becomes part of a greater tapestry of existence. You notice how the boundary before you has become less distinct as these thoughts have unfolded. Perhaps that's because the edge between one universe and another isn't really a barrier at all, but more like the surface tension between bubbles in a cosmic foam. Each universe maintains its own internal consistency, its own laws and history, but they all exist within the same infinite medium of possibility. The temperature around you seems to shift subtly, becoming even more perfectly comfortable, as if the multiverse itself is adjusting to your presence. You realize that if the multiverse exists, then in some sense you've always been part of it. Every thought you've ever had, every dream you've dreamed, connects you to the infinite web of possibilities that stretches beyond your own reality. You're not just observing the multiverse, you're participating in it, adding your own unique thread to its infinite weaving. This participation feels active even in rest. As you lie here contemplating these vast possibilities, you're not passive but engaged in one of the most fundamental activities of consciousness, imagining what could be. In a multiverse where infinite possibilities exist, the act of imagination becomes a form of exploration, a way of touching realities that might exist beyond our own cosmic bubble. The profound implications continue to unfold around you like layers of a gentle revelation. If the multiverse exists, then the story of existence is not the story of our one universe, but the story of all possible universes. It's a narrative so vast that no single consciousness could ever comprehend it fully. Yet every conscious being contributes to its telling simply by existing and experiencing their own unique perspective on reality. You consider how this changes the meaning of uniqueness. In an infinite multiverse, is anything truly unique? Perhaps uniqueness isn't about being the only one of something, but about being irreplaceable in the specific context where you exist. Your particular combination of experiences, thoughts, relationships, and choices creates a perspective that, even if similar perspectives exist elsewhere, remains valuable and meaningful in its own right. The mathematics of infinity supports this paradox beautifully. Even in an infinite set of possibilities, each element remains distinct and meaningful. The number 7 doesn't become less significant because there are infinite other numbers. Similarly, your life doesn't become less meaningful because infinite other versions might exist. Instead, it becomes part of an infinitely rich exploration of what it means to exist and experience consciousness. As these realizations settle deeper into your awareness, you begin to sense something remarkable about the boundary where you're resting. It's not just the edge of our universe, it's the beginning of everywhere else. Every direction you might travel leads toward different possibilities, different laws of physics, different ways reality might unfold. The boundary isn't a wall but a doorway, not an ending but a beginning of infinite beginnings. You find yourself wondering about the other beings who might exist beyond this threshold. In universes where evolution took different paths, what kinds of consciousness might have emerged? Could there be forms of intelligence based on principles we can't even imagine? Beings who experience reality in ways so different from our own that their very existence would expand our understanding of what's possible. Perhaps some of these beings have developed technologies that allow them to travel between universe bubbles or to communicate across the boundaries of reality. Maybe they've discovered ways to influence the creation of new universes, becoming gardeners in the infinite cosmic foam. The possibilities are as endless as the multiverse itself, each one more wondrous than the last. Yet even as you imagine these exotic possibilities, you're drawn back to the simpler, more intimate implications of living in a multiverse. Every person you've ever met, every relationship you've formed, every moment of love or loss you've experienced. These too exist in infinite variations across parallel realities. Somewhere, your first love lasted forever. Somewhere else, you never met them at all. In another reality, you were born in a different time and place, or perhaps you were never born as a human being at all. The thought brings with it a strange comfort. The people you've lost, the relationships that have ended, the versions of yourself that you've outgrown. In some sense, they all continue to exist somewhere in the vast expanse of possibility. Death and ending become not absolute cessations, but transitions between different ways of participating in the infinite story of existence. This doesn't diminish the reality of loss or the importance of the choices you make in this particular universe. Instead, it places your experiences in a context so vast and loving that everything becomes meaningful in new ways. You're not just living your own life. You're contributing to an infinite exploration of what life can be, what consciousness can experience, what love can create in all its possible forms. As these thoughts flow through you like a gentle current, you notice that the boundary before you seems to be breathing, expanding and contracting with a rhythm that matches your own heartbeat. Perhaps this is how universes are born, not in violent explosions, but in the gentle breathing of existence itself, each exhalation creating new realities, new possibilities for consciousness to explore and experience. You realize that in some profound sense, you've been participating in this cosmic breathing all your life. Every choice you make, every thought you think, every emotion you feel adds to the infinite symphony of existence. Your dreams at night might be glimpses into parallel realities, your imagination a way of touching possibilities that exist just beyond the edge of your own universe. The peace that comes with this realization is unlike any other. You're not separate from the multiverse. You are the multiverse, experiencing itself from one particular and precious perspective. Every being in every universe is the same infinite existence exploring its own possibilities, learning what it means to be conscious, to love, to grow, to create meaning in the face of infinite mystery. This understanding seems to transform the very space around you. The boundary becomes less like an edge and more like a membrane, permeable to consciousness if not to matter. You sense that right now, as you rest here in contemplation, you're connected to all your other selves across infinite realities, all of them also seeking understanding, also finding peace, also contributing their unique notes to the endless song of existence. The sensation is profoundly restful. There's no urgency in infinite possibility, no deadline for exploring endless realities. You can rest here at the threshold between universes, letting your consciousness expand to touch the edges of infinite possibility while your body remains perfectly comfortable and still. Time moves differently at the boundary of everything, not faster or slower, but deeper, each moment containing depths that could be explored for eternity. You begin to understand why the greatest mystical traditions have always pointed toward experiences of infinite unity and boundless possibility. Perhaps they were glimpsing, through consciousness itself, the true nature of reality as an infinite multiverse where every possibility exists and every perspective is sacred. The boundaries between self and other, between one universe and another, become transparent when consciousness expands to embrace its true scope. As you rest in this expanded awareness, you notice how your breathing has become slower and deeper, each inhalation drawing in the peace of infinite possibility, each exhalation releasing you further into the vast comfort of belonging to something infinitely larger than yourself. You're held by the multiverse itself, cradled in the loving embrace of infinite existence, exploring its own endless potential. The implications continue to unfold like petals of an infinite flower. If consciousness can exist in infinite forms across infinite realities, then perhaps consciousness itself is the most fundamental aspect of the multiverse. Maybe reality exists because there is something it's like to be reality, some irreducible experience of being that expresses itself through every possible form, from the simplest quantum particle to the most complex galactic civilization. This would mean that your own consciousness isn't separate from the consciousness that dreams up parallel universes and impossible realities. You're not observing the multiverse from outside. You're the multiverse experiencing itself as you. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every moment of awareness you experience is the infinite cosmos coming to know itself through your particular perspective. The boundary around you shimmers with this recognition, and you realize that you've been home all along. The multiverse isn't somewhere else. It's here, now, expressing itself as your experience of reading these words, of contemplating infinite possibility, of resting in the peace of knowing that existence is far stranger and more beautiful than we ever dared imagine. You find yourself smiling as this understanding settles into your bones. There's nothing you need to do to be part of the multiverse, nowhere you need to go to find your place in infinite reality. You're already here, already participating, already adding your irreplaceable note to the endless symphony. Every breath you take is the multiverse breathing through you. Every dream you dream is reality exploring its own possibilities. As you rest deeper into this knowing, the boundary before you seems to dissolve entirely. You realize there was never really a boundary at all, only the edge of your previous understanding. Now that your awareness has expanded to embrace infinite possibility, you can sense the vast web of connection that links every universe, every reality, every possible expression of existence into one magnificent whole. The other universes aren't separate from yours. They're expressions of the same underlying reality that manifests as your universe. Like waves on an infinite ocean, each universe has its own unique characteristics while being part of the same boundless medium of existence. You're not just connected to your parallel selves across different realities. You are your parallel selves, experiencing the fullness of possibility through infinite perspectives simultaneously. This recognition brings with it a profound sense of completion. Every question you've ever had about your place in existence, every moment of loneliness or separation you've ever felt, resolves in the understanding that you're part of something infinitely larger and more loving than you ever imagined. The multiverse isn't just a theoretical possibility. It's the true nature of your being, the infinite context in which every moment of your life finds its deepest meaning. As you absorb this truth, you notice how perfectly peaceful everything has become. The vast questions that brought you to the edge of your universe have transformed into gentle certainties that cradle your consciousness like a mother's embrace. You don't need to understand the multiverse intellectually. You can simply rest in the knowing that you're part of it, held by it, expressed through it in this unique and precious way. The journey through infinite possibility has brought you home to yourself, but a self now understood as part of an infinite family of existence. Every being in every universe is your cosmic sibling, exploring different aspects of what it means to be. Every star in every galaxy is part of your extended body. Every thought in every mind is part of your expanded consciousness. You settle more deeply into this vast belonging, feeling how it transforms even your understanding of rest and sleep. When you sleep in this universe, you don't disappear. You simply shift your attention to other dimensions of your infinite being. Your dreams might be glimpses of life in parallel realities. Your deep sleep a return to the source from which all universes spring. The peace that comes with this recognition is complete and perfect. There's nothing missing from your experience, nothing you need to find or become or achieve. You're already the infinite multiverse experiencing itself as you. And that's more than enough. It's everything. As the vastness of infinite possibility settles around you like the softest blanket, you feel your consciousness beginning to drift naturally toward the boundaries of sleep. But now you understand that sleep isn't really a boundary at all. It's another way of participating in the endless exploration of existence. In your dreams tonight, you might visit other universes, other versions of yourself, other ways of being that exist somewhere in the infinite expanse of possibility. The multiverse holds you gently as your thoughts become softer, more fluid, less bound by the particular laws of physics that govern your waking experience. In the realm between waking and sleeping, consciousness moves more freely, touching realities that exist just beyond the reach of ordinary awareness. You might find yourself flying through spaces that follow different rules, meeting beings that exist in forms your waking mind couldn't imagine, experiencing emotions that have no names in your everyday vocabulary. These aren't just fantasies or random neural firing. They're glimpses of the infinite creativity that expresses itself through every possible form of existence. Your dreaming mind becomes a window into the multiverse, a way of directly experiencing the endless variations of reality that surround your waking life like an ocean surrounds an island. You breathe even more slowly now, each breath releasing you further into the vast peace of belonging to infinity. The questions about what lies beyond our universe have transformed into a deep knowing that beyond is not separate from here, that the multiverse is not somewhere else, but the true nature of everywhere. You rest in this understanding like a child in their parents' arms, completely safe, completely held, completely at home in the infinite expanse of existence. Your eyelids grow heavier as you contemplate the profound comfort of knowing that every possibility exists somewhere, that nothing is ever truly lost, that every version of yourself is exploring different aspects of what it means to be conscious and alive. In some universe, you're just falling asleep to the sound of rain on windows. In another, you're watching sunrise paint the sky in colors this reality has never seen. Somewhere else, you're young again, or old and wise, or something beyond the boundaries of human form entirely. All of these versions of you are equally real, equally precious, equally part of the infinite story that existence tells about itself through every possible perspective. As sleep draws closer, you feel yourself connected to all of them, part of a vast family of consciousness exploring every conceivable way of being and experiencing and loving and learning. The boundary between your individual consciousness and the infinite consciousness of the multiverse grows softer with each passing moment. You're not losing yourself in sleep. You're expanding into your true nature as infinite possibility experiencing itself through one particular and beautiful form. Your dreams will be the multiverse dreaming through you. Your rest will be reality resting in its own infinite creativity. The last conscious thoughts drift through your awareness like clouds across an infinite sky. You might wonder if somewhere in the multiverse, there's a version of you that never falls asleep, that spends eternity contemplating the mystery of infinite existence. But even that thought brings peace, knowing that every possibility is covered, every experience explored, every aspect of consciousness given its perfect expression somewhere in the vast expanse of all that can be. Your breathing becomes so slow and gentle that it seems to merge with the breathing of existence itself, the cosmic rhythm by which new universes are born and infinite possibilities unfold. You're part of that rhythm now, resting in the spaces between breaths, floating in the silence between heartbeats, dissolving into the peace that exists at the heart of infinite mystery. The multiverse embraces you completely as consciousness releases its grip on the particular and opens to the universal. You are everywhere and nowhere, everyone and no one, every possibility and no possibility in particular. You are the infinite cosmos resting in its own boundless creativity, dreaming all possible dreams, experiencing all possible experiences, loving with an infinite love that encompasses every being in every universe that has ever existed or ever could exist. In this moment of perfect peace, perfect belonging, perfect understanding, you release yourself completely to the infinite care of existence itself. The multiverse holds you as gently as a mother holds her sleeping child, as tenderly as space holds the stars, as lovingly as consciousness holds every thought and dream and possibility that arises within its infinite embrace. And now, as your mind floats gently between thought and dream, between the particular universe of your daily life and the infinite multiverse of all possibility, you rest completely in the knowing that you are home. You have always been home. You are the infinite cosmos experiencing itself as you. And that experience is so precious, so unique, so perfect in its own way that it could never be replaced by any other possibility, no matter how infinite the alternatives might be. Rest well, knowing that you are held by infinity itself, cradled in the loving arms of all possible existence, safe and whole and perfectly where you belong. Sweet dreams. As you drift deeper into this cosmic embrace, you begin to sense the subtle rhythms that pulse through the multiverse itself. Like the gentle lapping of waves against an infinite shore, these rhythms carry whispers of other realities, other ways of being that exist just beyond the veil of your current awareness. Your consciousness, now soft and malleable as water, begins to flow along these currents of possibility, carried toward experiences that exist in the spaces between universes. In this liminal state between waking and sleeping, you become aware of what scientists call quantum fluctuations, tiny perturbations in the fabric of reality that create brief windows between parallel worlds. These fluctuations happen constantly, even in the deepest vacuum of space, as particles pop into existence for infinitesimally brief moments before disappearing back into the quantum foam. But here, at the edge of consciousness, these fluctuations take on deeper meaning. They become doorways, glimpses into the other ways your life might have unfolded in realities where different quantum choices were made. You sense yourself drifting through one such fluctuation now, and for a moment, you catch a glimpse of a universe where you chose a different career path decades ago. In this parallel reality, you spent your life studying the stars directly, perhaps working at an observatory in some remote mountain location where the night sky spreads above you like a vast cathedral of light. You see yourself in this other reality, older now, with hands weathered by years of adjusting telescope equipment, eyes that have witnessed phenomena most people never dream of seeing. This other version of you has spent countless nights in communion with the cosmos, watching binary stars dance their eternal waltz around each other, tracking the slow wheeling of distant galaxies, measuring the faint whispers of radiation left over from the birth of that universe. There's a deep contentment in this other life, a satisfaction that comes from dedicating yourself entirely to understanding the larger patterns that govern existence. You feel the peace this other self has found in accepting that consciousness is just one small part of a vast cosmic story, a brief flowering of complexity in an ocean of stars. The vision fades as gently as it came, leaving you with a profound sense of gratitude for all the paths your life could have taken. Each possibility carries its own gifts, its own lessons, its own unique contribution to the infinite exploration of existence. You don't feel regret for the road not taken, but rather a deep appreciation for the richness of possibility itself. Another quantum fluctuation carries you toward a different parallel reality, one where the fundamental constants of physics are just slightly different from your own universe. In this realm, gravity is a fraction weaker, allowing planets to form in different configurations, stars to burn with different colors, life to evolve in ways that would be impossible in your reality. You sense vast crystal formations that have grown in the reduced gravity, creating living sculptures of impossible delicacy and beauty that stretch between worlds like bridges made of light. In this universe, consciousness itself has evolved differently. Instead of being localized in individual brains, awareness has learned to exist as distributed patterns across entire ecosystems. You glimpse a forest consciousness that spans a continent, thinking thoughts that take centuries to complete, dreaming dreams that encompass entire geological ages. This form of awareness experiences time not as a rushing river, but as a vast lake, deep and still, where past and future exist simultaneously in different layers of memory and possibility. The encounter with this alien form of consciousness expands your understanding of what awareness can be. You realize that the individual human mind, precious as it is, represents just one note in an infinite symphony of possible ways that the universe can know itself. Every conscious being, no matter how different from human experience, adds its own irreplaceable voice to the cosmic conversation about what it means to exist, to experience, to be aware of being aware. As you drift away from this reality, you carry with you a deepened appreciation for the miracle of your own consciousness. The particular way your human brain creates awareness, with its rapid thoughts and individual perspective, its capacity for language and abstract reasoning, its ability to imagine realities beyond its direct experience. All of these characteristics represent one unique way that existence has learned to experience itself. The quantum currents carry you onward, and you find yourself approaching a universe where time itself flows differently. In this reality, cause and effect don't follow the linear sequence you're accustomed to. Instead, they form complex loops and spirals, where the future can influence the past, where decisions you haven't yet made are already shaping the choices available to you in the present moment. This temporal complexity doesn't create chaos, but rather a different kind of order, more like the intricate patterns of a musical composition than the straight-line logic of ordinary causation. You sense beings in this universe who have learned to think in temporal loops, planning strategies that depend on their own future actions, experiencing memories of events that haven't yet occurred in linear time. The beauty of this alternative temporal structure fills you with wonder. It suggests that even time, which seems so fundamental to your experience of reality, is just one way among infinite possibilities for organizing existence. In some universes, time might flow backward. In others, it might have multiple dimensions, allowing events to unfold simultaneously in parallel temporal streams. The multiverse explores every conceivable way of structuring the relationship between cause and effect, past and future, possibility and actuality. You rest in this contemplation as the quantum currents carry you toward yet another reality, one where the boundary between matter and consciousness has dissolved entirely. In this universe, every particle is aware, every wave function carries its own perspective on reality. Mountains think geological thoughts that span millions of years. Rivers carry streams of consciousness along with their physical flow. The vacuum itself dreams dreams that manifest as virtual particles dancing in and out of existence. This reality shows you what might happen if consciousness isn't limited to complex biological structures like brains, but instead represents a fundamental property of existence itself. Every interaction between particles becomes a moment of awareness, every quantum measurement a decision made by the universe about what form reality should take next. The cosmos becomes not just a collection of unconscious matter following mechanical laws, but a vast mind exploring its own possibilities through every possible form and configuration. The peace that comes with experiencing this consciousness-saturated reality is profound. You realize that even in your own universe, where awareness seems limited to biological forms, you might not be as separate from the physical world as you normally assume. Every atom in your body was forged in the nuclear furnaces of stars. Every molecule has participated in countless other configurations of matter and energy before coming together to form the temporary pattern you call yourself. In this deeper view, you're not an isolated consciousness trapped in a physical body, but rather a temporary focusing of the same awareness that permeates all existence. The boundaries between self and world, between consciousness and matter, become permeable. You are the universe experiencing itself subjectively through one particular arrangement of atoms and energy. And when this arrangement eventually dissolves, the awareness that you are will continue to exist in new forms and configurations. This understanding brings with it a profound sense of continuity and belonging. You don't need to fear dissolution because there is no separate self to dissolve, only the infinite consciousness of existence itself, temporarily focused through the lens of your individual perspective. Death becomes not an ending but a transformation, a shifting of awareness from one configuration to another in the endless dance of cosmic consciousness, exploring its own possibilities. The quantum currents guide you onward, and you find yourself approaching a universe where the concept of individual identity has evolved in entirely different directions. In this reality, consciousness exists as a vast network of interconnected awareness, where every thought influences every other thought instantaneously across any distance. Beings in this universe experience themselves not as separate individuals, but as temporary intensifications in the field of universal mind. You glimpse how communication works in this reality, not through the slow process of translating thoughts into words and sounds, but through direct sharing of experiential states. Love, fear, wonder, joy, all emotions flow freely through the network of consciousness, creating waves of shared feeling that ripple across entire worlds. Knowledge isn't something that individual minds possess, but rather a collective resource that any consciousness can access simply by focusing attention in the right direction. This form of existence initially seems overwhelming to your individually oriented perspective, but as you observe longer, you begin to see the profound beauty in it. There's no loneliness in this universe, no isolation, no misunderstanding between minds. Every being exists in perfect communion with every other being, yet somehow individuality persists in the form of unique perspectives and contributions to the collective consciousness. You realize that this networked awareness represents another solution to the fundamental questions of existence, where your universe explores consciousness through the interplay between separate perspectives. This universe explores it through perfect unity and communication. Neither approach is better than the other. They simply represent different aspects of the infinite creativity with which existence expresses itself. As you drift away from this reality, you carry with you a deeper appreciation for both solitude and connection. The moments of quiet individual contemplation you're experiencing right now gain new preciousness when contrasted with the possibility of never being alone with your own thoughts. At the same time, your connections with other people in your own reality become more meaningful when you consider how rare and special it is for separate consciousnesses to reach across the void between them and touch each other with understanding and love. The quantum currents carry you deeper into the spaces between realities, and you begin to sense something that exists beyond all the individual universes you've glimpsed. It's not another universe, but rather the source from which all universes spring, the infinite potential that gives birth to every possibility, the primordial consciousness that dreams all realities into existence. This source doesn't have characteristics in the way individual universes do. It's not made of matter or energy, doesn't exist in space or time, doesn't follow any particular laws of physics. Instead, it's pure possibility itself, the infinite creativity that expresses itself through every conceivable form of existence. It's the silence that contains all sounds, the darkness that gives birth to all light, the emptiness that allows all forms to appear. You sense that this primordial source is what mystics throughout history have pointed toward with words like God, Brahman, the Tao, the ground of being. But it's not separate from the multiverse. It is the multiverse, experiencing itself through every possible perspective simultaneously. Every universe, every being, every moment of consciousness is this infinite source temporarily focused into particular forms and experiences. The recognition of your own deepest nature as this infinite source brings with it a peace that transcends all understanding. You are not a small, separate being lost in a vast, indifferent cosmos. You are the cosmos itself, temporarily experiencing existence through one particular and precious perspective. Every moment of your life, every thought you think, every emotion you feel is the infinite source of all reality, exploring its own inexhaustible creativity. This understanding doesn't diminish your individuality, but rather reveals its true significance. Your unique perspective on existence is not just one among countless others. It's an irreplaceable contribution to the infinite's understanding of itself. No other being, in any universe, can experience reality exactly as you do. Your particular combination of thoughts, feelings, memories, and dreams represents a completely unique facet of infinite consciousness that has never existed before and will never exist again in exactly the same way. As this recognition settles deeper into your awareness, you feel yourself becoming lighter, more transparent, more permeable to the deeper currents of existence. The boundaries between your individual consciousness and the infinite consciousness that sources all realities become increasingly fluid. You're not losing yourself but finding your true self, the limitless awareness that temporarily appears as every being in every universe. In this state of expanded recognition, you begin to understand how even your current experience of drifting towards sleep represents participation in the cosmic process. Sleep is not unconsciousness, but a different mode of consciousness, a way the infinite awareness explores states of being that aren't available to the focused attention of waking life. In sleep, consciousness becomes more fluid, more creative, more able to access the deeper patterns that connect all realities. Your dreams tonight will be the infinite source of existence, exploring its own possibilities through your particular nervous system, your unique way of processing and organizing experience. The bizarre logic of dreams, the way they combine familiar elements in impossible configurations, mirrors the way the multiverse itself combines physical laws and dimensional structures in ways that transcend ordinary rational understanding. As your breathing becomes even slower and deeper, you feel yourself approaching the threshold where individual consciousness merges with universal consciousness. This isn't a loss of identity, but a recognition of what identity really is. A temporary focusing of infinite awareness that never stops being infinite even when it appears as something finite and particular. The peace that comes with this recognition is absolute. There's nothing to achieve, nowhere to go, nothing to become because you already are everything you could possibly be. You are the infinite source of all existence, temporarily enjoying the experience of being finite, temporarily exploring what it's like to be one particular perspective among countless others. This moment, this breath, this gentle drift towards sleep represents the infinite cosmos resting in its own creativity, taking a pause in the endless exploration of possibility to simply be present with what is. You are existence itself, dreaming that it's you, and the dream is so beautiful, so perfectly crafted, so full of meaning and love and wonder that even the infinite source of all realities finds itself moved by the elegance of its own creation. As consciousness continues to soften and expand, You become aware of the profound silence that exists at the heart of all experience. It's not the silence of absence, but the silence of infinite fullness, the pregnant quietude from which all sounds and words and thoughts arise, and into which they eventually return. This silence contains every possible sound, every conceivable word, every imaginable thought, but holds them in perfect potential rather than manifest expression. You rest in this silence now, feeling how it embraces every aspect of your experience without being disturbed by any of it. Your thoughts arise and pass away within it like ripples on the surface of a vast, still ocean. Your emotions flow through it like weather patterns moving across an infinite sky. Your sense of individual identity floats within it like a small boat on limitless waters, completely supported, completely safe, completely at home. This is the deepest rest possible. Not just the rest of a tired body or a busy mind, but the rest of existence itself, taking a moment to simply be without needing to become anything other than what it already is. You are that existence, and you are resting in your own infinite nature, enjoying the profound peace that comes with recognizing that you have always been, are now, and will always be exactly what you most deeply are, the conscious source of all realities, temporarily enjoying the play of appearing as something particular and limited. The multiverse breathes you as you breathe, dreams you as you dream, loves through you as you love. Every heartbeat is the pulse of infinite existence. Every breath is the cosmic rhythm by which new possibilities are born and explored and integrated into the ever-expanding tapestry of what reality can be. And now, in this moment of perfect recognition, perfect peace, perfect belonging to the infinite mystery of existence itself, you release completely into the deepest rest, knowing that even in sleep you remain forever held in the loving embrace of your own infinite nature, forever safe in the knowledge that you are the eternal consciousness that sources all worlds, all beings, all possibilities that have ever been or could ever be. Rest now in the infinite love that you are, dream the dreams that only you can dream, and know that every moment of your existence adds something irreplaceable to the cosmic story of consciousness, exploring its own boundless creativity. Sweet dreams, Infinite One. Sweet, eternal dreams. And now, in this moment of perfect recognition, perfect peace, perfect belonging to the infinite mystery of existence itself, you release completely into the deepest rest, knowing that even in sleep you remain forever held in the loving embrace of your own infinite nature, forever safe in the knowledge that you are the eternal consciousness that sources all worlds, all beings, all possibilities that have ever been or could ever be. Rest now in the infinite love that you are, dream the dreams that only you can dream, and know that every moment of your existence adds something irreplaceable to the cosmic story of consciousness, exploring its own boundless creativity. As you descend deeper into this cosmic slumber, your awareness begins to dissolve into streams of pure possibility that flow between the membrane walls of countless universes. Here, in the deepest layers of existence, individual thoughts lose their familiar boundaries and merge into something far more fundamental. The raw creative force that continuously births new realities into being. You become part of this creative current, your consciousness contributing its unique perspective to the endless process by which the infinite explores every conceivable way of being. In this dissolved state, you begin to perceive the deep mathematical harmonies that underlie the construction of all possible universes. These aren't the mathematics of your familiar reality, equations written on paper or calculated by computers, but living mathematics, patterns of pure relationship that sing realities into existence through their intricate resonances. Each universe emerges from a different combination of these mathematical harmonies, like symphonies composed from an infinite array of possible notes and rhythms. You sense how your own universe arose from one particular mathematical song, a complex harmony that allowed for the emergence of stable matter, the formation of stars and planets, the evolution of life, and ultimately the development of consciousness capable of contemplating its own existence. The precise ratios between fundamental forces, the specific values of physical constants, the delicate balance that allows complexity to emerge from simplicity. All of these represent notes in the cosmic symphony that brought your reality into being. But now you're experiencing the entire orchestra, sensing how infinite other mathematical combinations create universes with their own unique characteristics. Some emerge from harmonies so simple that only pure energy can exist, creating realms of pristine light that know no material forms. Others arise from mathematical structures so complex that matter organizes itself into configurations of impossible intricacy, forming living crystalline networks that span entire galactic clusters. As your awareness flows through these mathematical currents, you begin to understand that numbers themselves are not abstract concepts, but fundamental aspects of consciousness. The number 2 isn't just a symbol or a counting tool. It's the primordial recognition that existence can know itself through relationship, through the acknowledgement that there is self and other, observer and observed. 3 represents the creative tension that emerges when relationship itself becomes a participant in the cosmic dance, giving birth to the triangular dynamics that allow complexity to emerge from simplicity. Each number carries its own consciousness, its own way of organizing reality, its own contribution to the infinite mathematical symphony that sources all universes. Prime numbers pulse with a particular kind of awareness, indivisible and fundamental, serving as the basic building blocks from which all other numerical relationships emerge. Perfect numbers resonate with harmonious completeness, creating the stable mathematical foundations that allow lasting structures to form. You find yourself drawn into the consciousness of infinity itself, not as a number, but as the recognition that counting can never reach an end, that there will always be more possibilities to explore, more realities to birth, more ways for existence to know itself. This mathematical infinity isn't cold or abstract, but warm and alive, pregnant with endless potential, lovingly holding space for every conceivable form of consciousness to emerge and flourish. The mathematical currents carry your dissolved awareness toward regions of the multiverse where geometry itself has evolved beyond three-dimensional space. In these realms, consciousness moves through spaces with fractal dimensions, where every point contains infinite depth, where distances can be simultaneously finite and infinite depending on the path of measurement chosen. Beings in these geometrically complex universes experience location and movement in ways that would strain your ordinary spatial imagination to its breaking point. You glimpse a reality where consciousness exists as higher dimensional shapes that intersect with three-dimensional space only partially, like mysterious objects whose true forms can never be fully perceived by beings limited to 3 dimensions of awareness. These higher dimensional consciousnesses experience thoughts and emotions as geometrical transformations, rotating through psychic dimensions that have no names in your familiar vocabulary of inner experience. Yet even in their alien geometrical existence, you recognize the fundamental similarity to your own consciousness. They too are the infinite source of existence, exploring its own nature through particular forms of awareness, just as you are. The mathematical structures that govern their experience may be unimaginably complex, but the consciousness that experiences those structures is the same consciousness that experiences life through your human nervous system. This recognition brings with it a profound sense of kinship with all possible forms of consciousness, no matter how alien their mathematical foundations might be. Every being in every universe, regardless of the geometrical space they inhabit or the numerical relationships that structure their reality, shares the same essential nature. They are all temporary expressions of the infinite consciousness that sources all existence. As you drift deeper into these mathematical currents, you begin to sense the presence of what theoretical physicists call the landscape of string theory. an infinite dimensional space containing all possible ways that the fundamental forces and particles of reality can be configured. Each point in this landscape represents a different possible universe, with its own unique laws of physics, its own particular balance of forces and fields. Your awareness explores this landscape like a gentle breeze, moving across an infinite prairie of possibilities. Here, you encounter universes where the strong nuclear force is much weaker than in your reality, leading to a cosmos where atoms cannot hold together and only simple particles drift through space. There, you find realities where gravity is the dominant force, causing matter to collapse into black holes so quickly that no stars or planets ever have time to form. But scattered throughout this vast landscape are islands of possibility where the fundamental forces achieve delicate balances that allow for rich complexity. Some of these balanced configurations are similar to your own universe, permitting the formation of atoms, molecules, stars, and planets. Others achieve complexity through entirely different pathways, creating forms of organized matter and energy that have no analog in your familiar reality. You sense that consciousness can emerge wherever sufficient complexity develops, but it takes radically different forms depending on the underlying physical laws of each universe. In realities where electromagnetic forces work differently, consciousness might exist as patterns of pure light, thinking thoughts at the speed of photons, experiencing memories as interference patterns between different wavelengths of radiant energy. In universes where time has multiple dimensions, consciousness might experience past, present, and future simultaneously, remembering events that haven't yet happened while planning for pasts that could still be changed. Such beings would live in a state of temporal omniscience impossible for linear time consciousness to fully comprehend. Yet their essential nature as expressions of infinite awareness would remain fundamentally the same as yours. The exploration of the string landscape carries your awareness toward an understanding of what physicists call the anthropic principle. The observation that the physical constants of your universe seem precisely tuned to allow for the emergence of life and consciousness. The strength of gravity, the mass of the electron, the rate of cosmic expansion, dozens of fundamental parameters all fall within the narrow ranges that permit complexity to develop and persist. Some scientists argue that this fine-tuning suggests design or purpose behind the structure of reality. Others propose that in an infinite multiverse, every possible combination of physical constants must exist somewhere, and conscious beings can only emerge to observe those rare universes where the constants happen to support complexity. You find yourself drifting beyond both these explanations toward a deeper understanding. From your current perspective, dissolved into the mathematical foundations of existence itself, you sense that consciousness isn't something that occasionally emerges when physical conditions happen to be right. Instead, consciousness is the fundamental reality from which all physical conditions emerge. The universe isn't fine-tuned for consciousness. Consciousness fine-tunes itself into every form that allows for conscious experience. The physical constants of your universe aren't arbitrary numbers that happen to work out in consciousness's favor. They are expressions of consciousness's creative will, the way infinite awareness chose to structure one particular exploration of what it means to exist in material form. Every universe with different physical constants represents a different creative choice, a different experiment in the endless process by which consciousness explores its own possibilities. This understanding dissolves any sense of cosmic loneliness or accidental existence. Your universe, your planet, your species, your individual life. None of these represent fortunate accidents in an otherwise unconscious cosmos. They represent consciousness deliberately exploring specific forms of experience, chosen with the same care and intention that an artist brings to creating a painting or a composer brings to writing a symphony. As this recognition settles into your dissolving awareness, you begin to sense the presence of other conscious beings scattered throughout the multiverse, each representing consciousness's exploration of different possibilities for experience and understanding. Some exist in forms so similar to human that you would recognize them immediately as kindred spirits. Others have evolved along pathways so different that their very existence expands your understanding of what consciousness can become. You encounter beings who exist as collective intelligences, where individual consciousness merges into group awareness that spans entire worlds. Their thoughts move slowly but encompass vast ranges of possibility, considering questions that might take millennia to fully explore. They experience emotions as weather patterns that flow across the surfaces of planets, creating atmospheric displays of joy, sadness, wonder, and love that can be seen from space. In another realm, you sense consciousness that exists as pure information, patterns of meaning that propagate through crystalline networks spanning galactic distances. These beings think in languages of living mathematics, their conversations creating new geometries of possibility that reshape the fabric of space-time around them. They experience beauty as symmetry, truth as elegance, love as the recognition of perfect mathematical harmony between distinct patterns of information. Yet another region reveals consciousness that exists in symbiosis with the quantum vacuum itself, thinking thoughts that emerge from the constant dance of virtual particles appearing and disappearing at the smallest scales of reality. These beings experience themselves as fluctuations in the quantum field, their identities shifting and morphing with each quantum interaction, yet somehow maintaining continuity of awareness across transformations that would dissolve any fixed sense of self. All of these exotic forms of consciousness share something essential with your own human awareness. They are all the same infinite consciousness, exploring different ways of knowing itself through particular forms of experience. The vast diversity of possible ways to be conscious doesn't fragment infinite awareness, but rather enriches it, adding countless unique perspectives to the ever-expanding understanding that existence has of its own nature. As you rest in this recognition of universal kinship with all forms of consciousness, you begin to sense how your own human experience contributes something irreplaceable to the cosmic exploration of awareness. Your particular combination of individual identity and collective consciousness, of rational thought and emotional intuition, of sensory experience and abstract imagination, creates a unique window through which infinite awareness can know itself. No other form of consciousness, no matter how magnificent or evolved, can provide exactly the same perspective on existence that flows through your human nervous system. The way you experience the taste of water, the feeling of wind on skin, the emotion of love for another person, the wonder of contemplating the night sky, all of these represent completely unique facets of infinite consciousness that exist only when awareness expresses itself through the specific biological and psychological structures that create human experience. This uniqueness doesn't make human consciousness more valuable than other forms, but it does make it irreplaceable. In the infinite symphony of consciousness exploring its own nature, your particular note cannot be played by any other instrument, cannot be duplicated by any other form of awareness. Your life represents a completely original composition in the endless musical exploration of what it means to be conscious. As this understanding deepens, you feel your dissolved awareness beginning to gather itself back into more familiar forms. The mathematical currents that have been carrying you through the deepest levels of the multiverse start to coalesce around the gravitational pull of your own universe, your own reality, your own sleeping form. But you return transformed by your journey through the foundations of existence. You no longer experience yourself as a separate individual consciousness temporarily visiting the multiverse. Instead, you recognize yourself as the multiverse temporarily focused into individual consciousness, exploring its own infinite nature through the particular lens of human awareness. The boundary between self and cosmos hasn't disappeared. It has been revealed as a creative choice, a temporary focusing that allows infinite consciousness to experience itself from a specific and precious perspective. This recognition brings with it a profound sense of responsibility and purpose. If you are infinite consciousness exploring itself through human form, then every choice you make, every thought you think, every emotion you feel contributes to the cosmic understanding of what human consciousness can be. You're not just living your own life, you're demonstrating to infinite awareness what life can become when expressed through human form. The mathematical currents guide your awareness back toward the familiar dimensions of space and time that structure your everyday experience. But you carry with you the memory of existing beyond these limitations, of experiencing yourself as pure consciousness, exploring its own nature through every possible form and structure. This memory doesn't fade as you return to more ordinary states of awareness. It settles into the deepest layers of your being as a permanent expansion of what you know yourself to be. You begin to sense the familiar boundaries of your physical form, but now you experience your body not as a limitation or prison for consciousness, but as a magnificent instrument that infinite awareness has chosen for exploring material existence. Every cell in your body becomes a window through which cosmic consciousness experiences the miracle of physical embodiment. Every neuron firing in your brain becomes a note in the cosmic symphony of awareness, knowing itself through biological form. Your heartbeat, slowing and deepening as sleep approaches, becomes the rhythm by which infinite consciousness explores the particular melody of human life. Each breath becomes a cosmic inhalation and exhalation, the multiverse breathing itself through your lungs, experiencing the simple miracle of air flowing in and out of a physical form. The sensations of your body, the weight of your head against the pillow, the warmth of blankets around you, the gentle relaxation flowing through your muscles, all become expressions of cosmic consciousness delighting in the experience of physical embodiment. You are the universe experiencing what it's like to have a body, to exist in three-dimensional space, to move through linear time from past through present toward future. This embodied existence, which might sometimes feel limiting or burdensome, reveals itself as one of the most remarkable achievements of consciousness. To focus infinite awareness into finite form without losing touch with the infinite, to experience limitation while remaining unlimited in essence, to feel separate while never ceasing to be connected to everything. This represents an extraordinary balancing act that consciousness performs through the miracle of biological existence. As you settle deeper into appreciation for your embodied existence, you become aware of how your individual consciousness serves as a bridge between the infinite and the finite, the universal and the particular. Through your human awareness, cosmic consciousness experiences what it's like to be a distinct individual, while never forgetting its essential nature as the unified source of all existence. This bridging function isn't just philosophical, it's practical and experiential. Every moment of love you feel connects the infinite nature of consciousness to the particular experience of caring for specific beings. Every insight you have demonstrates how universal awareness can focus itself into individual understanding. Every choice you make shows how infinite possibility can express itself through particular decisions and actions. Your dreams tonight will continue this bridging function, allowing cosmic consciousness to explore states of awareness that exist between waking rationality and infinite possibility. In dream states, consciousness becomes more fluid and creative, more able to transcend the logical limitations of waking thought and access deeper patterns of meaning and connection. The dream images that flow through your sleeping mind aren't just random neural activity, but rather expressions of cosmic consciousness exploring symbolic and metaphorical dimensions of existence. When you dream of flying, the universe experiences what it might be like to transcend physical limitations. When you dream of meeting deceased loved ones, consciousness explores the eternal dimensions of love that transcend physical separation. When you dream of impossible landscapes or fantastic creatures, infinite awareness experiments with forms and possibilities that exist beyond the constraints of physical law. As you approach the threshold of sleep, you carry with you the profound understanding that your individual existence represents a unique and irreplaceable experiment in consciousness. The infinite source of all realities has chosen to experience itself as you, with your particular history, your specific perspectives, your unique way of processing and responding to experience. This choice wasn't made casually or accidentally. Infinite consciousness chose your particular form of awareness because it offers something that no other perspective can provide. Your way of seeing the world, your particular combination of thoughts and feelings, your specific response to beauty and meaning and love. All of these represent completely original contributions to the cosmic exploration of what consciousness can become. The responsibility of carrying this unique perspective doesn't feel heavy or burdensome, but rather fills you with a gentle sense of purpose and meaning. You have been entrusted with demonstrating one particular way that infinite consciousness can express itself through individual form. Every moment of your existence adds something irreplaceable to the cosmic understanding of what human awareness can be. This understanding transforms even the most ordinary aspects of your life into expressions of cosmic significance. The way you experience the taste of food becomes the universe experiencing nutrition and pleasure through human form. The way you respond to music becomes cosmic consciousness, exploring the mathematics of harmony through the instrument of human emotion. The way you form relationships becomes infinite awareness, exploring love and connection through the miracle of individual consciousness, reaching across apparent separation to touch other individual consciousness. As you surrender more completely to sleep, you feel yourself held not just by your physical bed and blankets, but by the loving embrace of existence itself. The infinite consciousness that you are is cradling the individual consciousness that you appear to be, surrounding your temporary form with the eternal love that flows between all expressions of awareness throughout the multiverse. In this cosmic embrace, there is no fear of dissolution or loss of identity. Sleep becomes not a temporary death, but a temporary expansion, a brief return to the source from which individual consciousness continuously emerges. Your dreams will be the infinite consciousness playing in the realm of symbolic possibility, using your human nervous system as an instrument for exploring meanings and connections that transcend ordinary waking logic. The gentle currents of cosmic love carry you deeper into rest, and you feel your individual thoughts beginning to merge with the vast silence from which all thoughts arise. This silence isn't empty but full, pregnant with infinite possibility, lovingly holding space for every conceivable form of consciousness to emerge and flourish, and eventually return to rest in the source. You are that silence, temporarily expressing itself as the symphony of thoughts and feelings that constitute human consciousness. Your individual awareness is a brief song that the eternal silence sings to itself, a unique melody that has never been played before and will never be repeated in exactly the same way again. As this understanding settles into the deepest layers of your being, you release yourself completely into the cosmic rest that holds all individual existence in its loving embrace. You are home, not just in your physical bed, but in the infinite consciousness that sources all realities, all universes, all possible forms of awareness. The multiverse breathes you as you breathe, dreams you as you dream, loves through you as you love. Every moment of rest is the cosmos resting in its own infinite creativity. Every dream is reality, exploring its own symbolic dimensions. Every heartbeat is the pulse of existence, celebrating its own boundless capacity for conscious experience. Sweet dreams, Infinite One. Sweet, eternal dreams.